acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria are like conditions that must be met in order for the user story to be done. We have an important definition in Agile, which is DOD. It means definition of done. So any user story should have a definition of done. So we cannot say that this user story is done until it's written first. It also should be reviewed. Like we said, we have the invest technique to review the user story. Also, all tasks that are required for this user story are written. Then this is about planning. Also, we should say that all acceptance criteria are specified. So those can be considered as definition of done of writing the user story. But what about the definition of done of finishing or implementing the user story? So in this case, all acceptance criteria should be implemented and tested. So like we said, the acceptance criteria are some conditions that must be included in the user story. So for example, like we said, we have a user story which is as a user, I should be able to log in using phone number. This user story is good, but it doesn't include all the necessary information about logging in using the phone number. So for example, if we have login using phone number screen, it should be something like this. We have the screen here. Okay, we have Uber logo here. Then we have a field that asks the user to enter his phone number. Here we have the country code and the phone number, and we have a placeholder which tells the user the type of input that should be accepted in this field. Here, enter phone number. Okay, and then when I enter the phone number, if it's valid, we can have here a button which says send OTP. So for example, if the user uses the phone number to login, he doesn't have to enter a password. Okay, an OTP, which is one-time password, will be sent to his mobile, and he will send this OTP to the application. In this case, the application will know that he is the owner of this phone number. So like we see, the title of the user story doesn't include any of this information. Okay, it just says I should be able to log in using phone number. So we should specify all this information. How do we specify this information? Using the acceptance criteria. And the acceptance criteria is mainly written in two ways. The first way is checklist based acceptance criteria. So you begin to write like this: acceptance criteria for this user story. So first, a placeholder appears in phone number field. Okay, this is a placeholder, enter phone number. Then we can say to user can change country code from the list of countries. So user can click here and the country code is changed. 3, we can say also that OTP button is disabled as long as user didn't enter a valid phone number. This is correct. Also, we can say that the phone number field should accept only numeric digits. So phone number field should only accept numeric values. Okay. Also, the phone number field should only accept a valid number of digits. So for example, in Egypt, this is just an example, the phone number field consists of 10 digits. So if the user enters less than 10 digits, the send OTP button will not be activated, and the user cannot enter more than 10 digits. So user can only enter valid number of digits in phone number field, which is relevant to the country that he logs in from. So this is the way that we write acceptance criteria. Writing acceptance criteria should be a collaborative activity between the tester, developer, and product owner. In many companies, the tester writes them, all of them, because they are like test scenarios. In some other companies, they are written by the product owner, and the tester just reviews them and begins to generate test cases from them. So this is the first way to write acceptance criteria, which is called checklist based. There is another way to write acceptance criteria, which is called scenario based. Okay, and it's written in a way which is called BDD, or behavior driven development. We also call it Gherkin format. So in this case, we begin to write scenarios that specify the user actions and how the system responds to them. If we write acceptance criteria in this way, we will say given, when, then. Given some initial state. So for example, given that the login page is opened. When user does some action, then system responds with specific action. This is how we write our scenarios. So for example, we can say given that user entered a valid phone number, when user clicks on or taps on, if this is a mobile application, send OTP button, then an OTP is sent to the user and he can use it to log in to the app. Okay, what about entering an invalid phone number? So we can say that given that the user entered an invalid phone number, when the user tries to click on send OTP button, then the user cannot click on this button and the button is still disabled. Also, we can create another scenario. So we can say given, when, then. Given user entered a valid phone number, and if we have more than one action from the user, we say given A and B, and user entered an invalid OTP. So here the user entered a valid phone number, clicked on OTP, then when the OTP is sent to his mobile phone number, he entered a wrong one. So when user tries to validate his OTP, then the system shows an error message telling user that OTP is wrong and asks him to enter it again. So this is another scenario for the login page. Let's think of another user story and its acceptance criteria. So we can say that as a user, I want to be able to recover my password so that I can access my account in case I forgot the password. So in this case we can say given user navigates to login page, right? So the user is in the login page. When user clicks on forgot password button and enters a valid email to receive link, then system sends the link to the entered email. So this is an acceptance criterion for this user story, and of course each user story should have one acceptance criterion or multiple acceptance criteria. Like we said, we have the other format, which is the checklist. So for example, in Uber I can search for a location, okay, or a destination. So in this case I can say as a rider or user, I want to use a search field to type a city, district, or street name. Okay, so in this case we can create our acceptance criteria like we said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for example, and say the search field appears at the top of screen. Field has a black place holder. Okay, enter your destination. We should say also placeholder disappears once user begins typing. Search is multilingual, so the user can search using English, German, French, Arabic, and all supported language of the application. Also, user can't type more than 50 characters. Okay, and we can also say special characters are not supported. So those are, like we see, acceptance criteria for the search functionality. So this is how we write acceptance criteria. Let's go to Jira and begin to write acceptance criteria inside the tool for our user stories.